Well, of course, two of the doomed flights originated from Boston's Logan Airport, and then on Wednesday, the FBI stormed a hotel there in Boston looking for a suspect. They found no suspect, but they found a lot of evidence, and they're still looking for more evidence. Let's go to our sister station, WBZ, and Ted Wayman for more. Ted.
Ernie and Angela, of course, we're learning a lot more about the suspect's trail here in Massachusetts, and it's continuing to get longer on this Saturday. Earlier this week, just after the hijackings, the FBI, with the help of state police here in Massachusetts, impounded a car at Logan Airport that law enforcement officials believe that the suspects used the day and possibly days before the hijackings took place. We're going to show you a live picture of the Mass Pike. Massachusetts Turnpike runs east to west in the state of Massachusetts. We're about the Springfield area all the way running east to Boston. What we have learned is that they were able to track that impounded car. Apparently that impounded car had been traveling on the Mass Pike, and in this state it is a pay road, and they picked up a toll ticket in the Springfield area and eventually got all the way east to Boston. They could not or would not pay that toll, and that often happens if people run out of change. But what the process is they take down your license plate and they later on send you the bill. Well, after they impounded that car, that same license plate came up as the car that did not pay the tolls, thus linking that car and its connection to the Mass Pike. How long that car traveled on that road in the possibly the days before the hijackings is still undetermined, but obviously they do now. That impounded car was on the Mass Pike in the days before the hijackings. In other news, here in the Boston area, FBI agents continue to look at possible hotels that the suspects stayed in prior to those ill-fated flights that flew out of Logan. But on a lighter note today, authorities have asked museums, parks, and zoos to stay open for families to go to spend the day without looking at these visuals that we've seen play out across American television screens since last Tuesday, to kind of get people out, urging them to get out and see other things. That's what's happening in Boston. On a more of a security note, a lot of people know the John Hancock Observatory here in Boston. It's one of the taller skyscrapers. It is a beautiful building. It's a mirror reflective building. On the 80th floor is an observatory. That observatory has been permanently closed, looking out over greater Boston. Reporting live at WBZ in Boston, I'm Ted Wayman. Let's head back to our sister station, WCBS in New York.
Okay, Ted, so just want to make it clear to people that Logan Airport is opened again, but high security. I understand that officers with black SWAT uniforms and police dogs are on the scene.
What happened earlier, Angela and Ernie, is that this airport, Logan Airport, one of the largest in the country, reopened at 5 o'clock this morning. They had a bit of a situation at Logan earlier this morning when one of a Delta jet pulled away from a gateway, and somebody, what they called as rowdy behavior, tried to change their seat. When that happened, that's when, of course, flags were waved. They brought the jet back to the gateway, and either that passenger was removed or something happened, but it was a bit of an emergency scene earlier this morning. That airliner, we're told, has since left Logan Airport. It continues to be open at this hour. Flights leaving and coming to Logan Airport, both national and international. The Logan Airport at this hour remains open.
Ted, you were talking about the security measures. You mentioned the John Hancock building there in Copley Square being closed. You know, we're hearing so many different stories all the time, and it's always changing naturally, and I'm wondering how people there are responding to what's going on.
I'll tell you, Ernie, what happened earlier this week on Wednesday, the day after the crashes, SWAT teams did make a raid on the Westin Copley. It's the Westin Hotel in Copley Plaza, after there was a report that one of the suspects had the same name as a guest at the Westin Hotel. That's what it ultimately came down to, but it was a scary situation, and SWAT teams went in there with they barricaded the door down to check to see if those hijackers had been in fact staying in that room. At that point, when I was covering it at Copley Plaza, which is a downtown part of the city, literally this was during the lunch hour on Wednesday, and 2,500 to 3,000 people had descended upon when they saw these SWAT teams go in. And what had just happened the day before, some 24 hours earlier, it was hard to believe. It was almost surreal that people were desensitized enough that they were looking up at a skyscraper and were not evacuating the area. It took almost an hour for Boston police to move those crowds back. Of course, it was the lunch hour, so there was 2,500 to 3,000 people in that square area, but it was hard to watch. We were back with our cameras looking at the SWAT team going into the hotel, but all those crowds were around in that area. You're looking at a live shot of the old and the new Hancock Tower. The older one on your left, the beautiful mirror mirrored one on your right, but people were actually looking up at the Westin Hotel, which is another skyscraper, and even 24 hours less. Earlier, we had seen what the pictures played out in New York, and people were still there looking up, which I found almost a surreal experience.
Ted, very quickly, it's a large college community there. How are the students, how's the academic community handling all of this?
Well, heading into work this morning, Ernie, along the Charles River, you saw a lot of college students out rowing as they do on the Charles River and jogging. It was kind of a nice scene to people getting back to normal Saturday routines and activities. But as we said just a few minutes ago, cultural officials urging zoos, parks, museums to stay open so people can get out and enjoy things, staying open for free so people can get out and do those things this weekend.
Okay, Ted Wayman, thank you for all of your reports coming to us from WBZ TV, our affiliate in Boston.